Hi, this is David of Inspect Canada. Even though cosmetic items are not part of a home inspection, we do tend to add a whole lot in the report. Whenever you move into your new home, you're excited and everything. You move in and you're like, oh my God, why is there so many scratches and little holes on the walls? Wherever there's a TV mount, there's at least going to be 4 holes. Wherever there were a painting or anything on the walls, they'll pull the nail, there'll be a little hole. And it may look a little bit overwhelming to you, but to tell you the truth, it's super easy to fix, and I'll show you exactly how. You don't need a whole lot, just a little putty knife, maybe a 1 inch. You can get 1.5 inches or 2 inch, but I like this one right here. And a product here that's called Drywall. So for little scratches, little holes, things like this, you don't need to get the plastering mud. All you need is this one. So at installation, it is pink. When it dries off, it turns white. So when it's white, you know it's time to sand it. So we have a perfect wall right here. So we're gonna need, unfortunately, a couple scratches. How about we start with TV mount holes? So let's have one right here. Here's a hole. Let's have another one because there's always 4 of them. So let's try another one right here. And how about someone moved in and just made a scratch on the wall? Now, who likes that, right? Nice little scratch. Let's make it a little deeper here. All right, so here's the cosmetic damage that we will try to fix today. So the first thing I would do is, if you do have any paper that's sticking out, you want to push that in the inside because this is going to bother you when you're trying to plaster this. Now here's my Drywall. I take a little bit of it. Let me move this here. It's nice to play with it. It gets a little bit warm. So what I do is I'll take a little bit of it and I'll try to fill that hole. I'm gonna put it in, but I'm gonna push on it. All right, I want to fill this hole, but I don't want to have it flush. I don't want to scrape it off. I want to leave it a little bit thick, because whenever you apply any kind of plastering mud on the walls, when it dries off, it shrinks a little bit. So if I have it totally flush, when it's dried off, you'll need to apply some more. So we'll keep it a little bit thick. So here's another bit for my other hole right here. I'm gonna push that in there. I'll wipe it, but I'll push it. I wanna make sure that this hole is filled right up. And then at the end, I'm just gonna apply a little bit more right here on the top. Let's keep it thick, okay? Actually here, this one I'll add a little bit more to it. All right, so when we sand it, we can sand the edges and it will go nice and flat. Now this scratch here, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but I want to make sure I fill all of it perfectly filled right up. I don't want any hollow spots in there. So I'm going to fill it, and I'm pushing kind of hard when I'm filling it up because I want to make sure that this is nice and full. And it goes all the way here. So this one here, I'm going to first kind of wipe most of the stuff off, and then I'm going to apply it because I want to make sure that it enters that crack very well. And then I'm just gonna throw a little bit more right on top here, just to keep it a little thicker. And I want to follow where this line is. All right, so it doesn't matter if you keep it a little bit thick. What we need to do right now is we need to wait a little bit. This material does dry off very quickly. I mean, if you were in super hurry, you could always put a fan on it, but you know what, I'm in no hurry. I got other things to do. So I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'll let this dry. Then I'm gonna use a sanding sponge and I'm gonna go over it. And by the time I'm done, it's gonna be paint ready and it will not show up through that paint whenever this wall is painted. All right, so let's let this dry. All right, so I'm back. This is fully dry, and when it's dry, because it turns white, it's actually difficult to see. But if you look on the wall right here, you'll see this was my scratch. And here's one of the hole that we made, and another one hole right here. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a sponge, a sanding sponge, and I'm gonna sponge this off. I'm gonna go very light on it, but it's gonna create some dust. So it's very important to either protect the floor, whatever you have there, carpet or anything. So I'm gonna put this garbage bag here at the bottom, and hopefully I don't make too much of a mess. All right, so what's important with this is that I like to go in a rotation kind of system like this. We want to see how rough this sponge is. If it's super rough, you don't want to go too heavy on it, but if it's Like this one is an older one actually that I used on a different project, so it's not as rough as something you would buy today. So I don't mind pushing a little bit harder on it, like this one here. So I'm gonna go, and the way that you know if it's done properly is you run your hand on it. So I'm running this on this hole right here, and I can totally feel it. So this is not ready. So I'm just gonna go, I try to hit the edge as much as possible. I don't want to totally go right where the hole is. And then, oh, I can still feel it. See, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm doing the edges, and I'm bending it just to do the edges a little bit here. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of dust that comes out of this. See, now I no longer feel it. So whenever we paint this, it won't even show up. So let's finish this one up here. It's got some heavy mud on it, so I'm gonna push a little harder to get this going. But really, what's important is not to go too crazy on it. It's best to stop, feel it. Yeah, I can totally feel it still. And then, you know, if your side's getting a little bit smooth, then you just use the other side. It's a little bit rougher. And as you can see, the amount of dust that it produced there. So you can imagine, if you got a good repairs to do on your drywall, you better set up a control zone with plastic and everything, otherwise it's gonna get the whole house dusty. But this is not too big, so all I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna use the vacuum after and just finish this off. This is getting pretty smooth. Oh, I can still feel it a little bit here. You know, like, there's absolutely no shame in doing another coat on this. If you're going a little too deep and you're starting to fill your hole, then just go and apply a little tiny bit more. Wait another hour or so, a little bit of sanding, so that, you know, at the end, you got a nice little project here. And nobody goes by this wall and be like, oh my God, who taped this place? You know? So I'm going with the edges. So I can't fill the edges here, cannot fill the edges most places. This is all nice. But when you do taping, it's nice to have a good, powerful light. So when you run a light on it, you can totally see if you get it done properly. So I guess for you at home, it's difficult to see, but for me, I can see all the imperfections in there with my light. So I'm just gonna use it a little bit more. Get rid of the edges, a little bit more here. Run your hand on it, make sure you don't feel any of that scratch or any of these edges on it. So really, don't go too much on where the action is, where the damage is. Just stick to the edges. Unless it's way too thick on top, then you definitely want to reduce it. But work with the edges. So right now, I know this wall is white, and then the plaster is also white. And you probably see the scratch through the plastering mud here, but this is paint ready. So if you do have small scratches, little holes, you know, for nails and things like this, don't worry about all this. Just get yourself that putty, dry decks, just put a little bit in there. As long as you fill up the hole really good, you wait an hour or two. When it turns white, you get yourself a little $5 sponge here at either Home Depot, Rona, or whatever you have near your place, and just work it out. Just make it nice and smooth. When your hands, do I feel anything? No, I don't feel anything. It's just like if I'm going right here on the wall. I don't feel anything. I don't feel wherever I'm going on my damage here. I don't feel anything. This is perfect, ready to go, ready to be painted. So we're gonna throw a coat of paint. I'll show you. I'm gonna throw a primer on that first, and then we're gonna finish that with a paint. And when we're done, you're not gonna see any of this. So as you can see, repairing some drywall cosmetic damage. We're not talking about a hole here. This is cosmetic damage. It's extremely easy to do, nothing to get too crazy about. Something you can do by yourself, or just get someone in the family that is not too busy to come around and just do it for you. You know, if you did have to bring someone here to do this, they would have to wait a couple hours and they would charge you for it. It'd be in the hundreds of dollars. So you save at least, I would say at least $200 by doing this yourself, and it's super easy. So again, thank you so much for watching this video. We're super grateful that you do. Please don't forget to subscribe. We want to get as many subscribers as possible. And if you do have any questions, again, reach out. We'll be happy to help. Until next time, have a beautiful day.